Hey guys, what is going on? This is going to be another solo queue commentary video. Apologies in advance once again for the stream VOD quality. I keep trying to remember to actually locally record these streams, but I just keep forgetting for some reason, so the quality on this one's going to be a little bit bad again. But we had a lot of people requesting last time that we do builds that are a little bit more kind of attuned to what the meta runs, so we're bringing you a Hambow build this time around. So the Hambow build, once again, for those people that don't know, has a lot of CC, a lot of AoE, and has the potentiality to control a lot of these team fights that are going to be happening here in the solo queue, so it's a very good build indeed. I am running the tanky variant of it with Soldier's Amulet, but again, the build is linked down below if you're curious more as to what I'm running specifically. So at the start of the game here, I do go towards home node. There's an Necro that follows me, and he's alright with chilling there, so he just does that. I then head over towards mid, and apologies, there is a bit of lag right here. I think the stream had dropped some frames at the time, but again, our teammates had been engaged in mid, and nobody was actually going for the trap at the time, so I'm just going to head over here too, and we're going to get into a matchup with an SD Thief. Now, I've noticed specifically in Hambow builds, SD Thieves can be particularly annoying to kill because they jump around so much, and specifically with the hammer, they're extremely hard to hit. So when I do end up getting into this matchup, especially if we're fighting on Treb, obviously, I'm really not going to be worried too much about the Thief. Obviously, if he's poking me, I'm going to try to control him to the best of my abilities, but my main focus here at the moment is on killing that Trebuchet down, so that'll be what I'm trying to do the most. And you're going to see here in just a second that as the Treb goes down, I really don't want to fight this Thief because he's just going to be a huge annoyance to me, and it's going to take me forever to kill him. So I'm just going to try to move away from here and get myself over back towards the middle point while trying to scare away this Thief in the process, and that does seem to work, so we get a good opener there. Now at this point too, it seems like mid's all wrapped up, so I necessarily didn't actually have to go there. They were doing okay, but the added support, once again, of a Hambow is going to be very good. The Hambow, once again, kind of has its own role to it, or rather, it's created its own role in the meta, specifically in the last patch when it was particularly strong, kind of called a bruiser, which when it gets into team fights, it does have that potentiality to control most of the team fight with the huge amount of CC and AoE it has, so that's why it's kind of called that role there. So I'm going to head in, and you'll see here kind of the consequences of my actions because I did decide to go to mid, where I wasn't particularly needed. Granted, we did have one guy on the ground there for a second, but they got him back up. But if I had actually gone home, I would have stopped a decap there. So always kind of try to keep out for the numbers on those points. And you know, you don't always have to go and support the mid fight. You can just go camp home or just check on it too. Because even though there's not someone on it, doesn't mean there isn't someone on the way to there. So it doesn't always hurt to just go back there and check it. Now, unfortunately, we do have an engineer on this point, so he's going to be very annoying. And you're going to note, too, that there was actually some poor cooldown usage choices of mine back over there towards mid. So, for instance, on the target we had down there over towards mid when I was trying to stomp out, I believe it was the Necromancer there a few seconds ago, I had used my stability. And you'll see that because of that, when I first entered this fight over here at the mansion, I'd gotten knocked around quite a bit. Had I had saved that stability, it probably would have been available, and I probably would have been able to get onto the point a lot more. And in all honesty, I might have actually killed that engineer there with the correct combo had I have not gotten knocked back by the big old bomb. But I mean, like, everything works out in the end of it, but it's just something to notice there too is my cooldown usage could have been a little bit better, so always try to think about when you're using stabilities and stuff like that, especially if you're running this build specifically. So that gets wiped up, mid gets decapped in the process of that. Our teammates actually are kind of over-rotating the points, like borderline zerging on some of these points here, as you may or may not have noticed. Everyone that was in middle there in that previous fight did completely bail back, and we're going to see the same thing happen again over here towards mid, so it's just somewhat unfortunate that I'm kind of leading the charge though, and at the same time I wasn't really too concerned with it when I was playing this game. So, you know, like I said, you can do this sort of thing, and it does have the potentiality to work, especially if no one else in your team, which thankfully we didn't have anyone else in our team doing this, but if everyone on your team is pretty committed to the two-cap strategy, you can kind of like zerg back and forth between points and do pretty well. It's just that, you know, like, as you're seeing right now, you're never going to get a very big lead, as you won't really have anyone sitting on points. Now, thankfully, there is a split fight here, so our group of 3 Zergers does end up splitting up, as we have to stay here to kill this Necromancer, but 2v1, so we have little to no issue doing that. I will stay here to execute him, and thankfully I did, as the engineer does come into play here as well. Don't go for CC control or anything like that, just breaking Khylo, getting that stomp again. You got the, I believe it's a Power Ranger here assisting me out, and he has a pretty decent amount of focus corpse cleave there that he can put onto that guy, so I wasn't really too worried about the body getting back up, especially because I had been cleaving it for a little bit there too, so I wasn't really too worried about that. Always try to keep an eye on the health pool once again. If you see that he's very close to getting back up into play, and you know that there's not a big damage guy with you, always try to get some CC or corpse cleave off so you make sure that they don't get him back up before going for a stomp, as obviously you can always kill kill them by damage, and kill the other guy trying to res in there too, if you manage to deal enough damage. So heading back over here once again towards the mansion, things are, you know, not going so well for our team here. So I do see this thief, and this thief, as you're seeing, is going to be SD. He'll be annoying, jumping all around here. Almost managed to take him down. So in retrospect there, we're going to talk matchup versus matchup. Probably could have hit my second ability there on longbow, gotten a burn tick, and that might have killed him, but yeah, just little things there. We're not really focused on that sort of stuff in these videos. So I'll get myself back on point, and this build once again is very, very tanky. You really do not have to worry about taking that much damage here at all. Now, big burst focus is definitely going to hurt, like right here in this scenario that just happened when I got hit by the burst there. Probably could have popped Endure Pain a little bit earlier and still probably would have been sitting around 60 to 70% health, but again, this build is just so tanky that there's little to no consequences for mispop cooldowns, especially ones like that there. As you're seeing, I'm still having little to no trouble holding on to my health pool here. Again, that ranger does end up going down, and that thief, I think, isn't really too inclined to kind of dive in onto me there, so I'm just going to chill on the point. And again, I'm chilling on point in the event that I do end up getting myself taken into the down state there, as I want to make sure I'm dying on point so that a thief can't come in there and get the decap. As I did have the necromancer there, but I'm not really too aware of what he's doing. Thankfully, once again, the necromancer does give me the assist needed, and that does take out Danny here from Gasm, knocking him out of play. I still end up going down, but again, I'm on point, and this Danny guy is very low as well. And as well, he'll be knocked out in just a second, so I was ready to get myself back up into play here too, so he'll get eliminated. Actually, this is actually a mistake I made here too, is the fact that I was kind of tunnel visioning throughout this game, and that's why you're seeing these little small mistakes here that I was talking about with the cooldown usages and whatnot like that, is the fact that, like I said, I could have just attacked that thief and probably gotten myself up maybe like 5 seconds earlier had I have decided to focus the thief there instead, but I did not do that, and well, obviously, I was on the ground for quite a lot longer because of that choice, but things are still going good, and in fact, we're borderline on a 3 cap here right now. Our opponents are not the most organized here at the moment, which does allow us to take a pretty hefty advantage, but with that cap in the back here, we do head back up towards mid, just in case there's anyone fighting there. There isn't really, but you always got to expect opponents coming in towards mid. And me too, I'm kind of just floating around the area here between the 2 points, the catwalk here at the moment, where I can get an eye on both those, but there we go. Somebody jumps onto mid, so I'll head into there, obviously, to fight that. But it's a good idea in general, especially, again, if you're running a sort of home point slash side bunker build like this one can be, and this build can actually act as a kind of primary bunker on midpoint too, if you're running a normal comp and team queue. It can kind of act as a secondary bunker if your guardian goes down. But it's a good idea, especially on this map, if you're running a role like that, to kind of hang out on the catwalk towards your side, because you'll not only be able to see the midpoint, obviously, but you can keep a pretty close eye on your home point there too. And generally speaking, be free to roam between either of those points. Now, what I do right here is probably actually a really bad idea. I go over in hopes of saving this teammate, and it does not work out well at all. And now, don't get me wrong, I get this kill on the thief with no trouble whatsoever. Thankfully, finally, I guess the past 2 times I've had so many issues trying to kill this thief, but this time the hammer combo was connected very nicely, and I was able to knock him out. But because I decided to go over here and get this greedy kill, I lost the home point and the midpoint, as you can see here right now too. So had I not done that, had I gone over there towards home, we probably, once again, would not have lost that. We probably still would have lost mid, as, again, I was really the only one hanging out there. But home point would have still been in our favor, and we would have been rocketing ahead. But considering the point spread at this point, that was probably the main reason that I didn't decide to go over there. I was probably, again, I was tunnel visioning pretty badly during this game. So, you know, it was somewhat inconsequential, but if, you mean, you're always looking to shut down your opponents as quickly as possible. So in a perfect game, I probably should have gone towards home in that scenario, as I wasn't entirely sure of although, apologies, I wasn't entirely sure of the odds of me actually getting my teammate back up into play there. And this is going to be my big screw up for this game, guys. So watch this. This NG is within seconds of death, chasing him, and big old bomb knocks me right off the cliff, and that saves him. So there's my noob moment of the day there for you guys. Somewhat unfortunate, again, me not watching out there for the big old bomb. I don't even think I had any endurance to dodge properly there, so there was very little I could actually do about that. Probably could have, if stab was off cooldown or something, probably could have popped that, but it just sucks so bad. And now I'm going to go on a wild goose chase. This is bad right here too, and just in general, we're playing Ring Around the Rosie on the points, and you can see that we're losing all these caps here. I should not be doing that. When you're capped against you, don't screw around trying to take out teammates, especially ones that aren't really heading towards any points or anything like that. Go towards the points, make sure you get those back. That should always be your primary focus, as obviously it is the primary objective of most of these games. So I'll head back to home. Again, we've got a 2-1 advantage here, so not too worried at all, but obviously I'll be standing on point to make sure we cap. That's just something of my opinion there. There are a lot of guys, in 1v1s is not so crucial because you're focused more on actually winning the fight and getting the cap than you are on actually capping, but when it's a 1v2 and you have already someone else off the point capping it for you, always make sure you're on the point capping it, as obviously, again, you want to get that back under your control as quickly as possible, and if you take control of the fight while you're knocking that guy, or if you take control of the point while you're knocking that guy out, and if he's low enough when you cap the point, you can just instantly leave with no qualms whatsoever. And as well, on the way out, I actually managed to catch this Necro as well, and we'll get a very quick 3v1 onto this guy, as it does take him a couple seconds to take him down, as again, he's running protection well, so he's a fairly tanky individual, but again, 3v1, no trouble taking him out whatsoever. So after this again, mid is not in our favor, so I think we both decided to head back there, but our enemies, again, are approaching kind of the end game here for them, so a lot of them are actually trying to push over towards our home point right now and get that back. I'm not too inclined to actually help out with that, so I'm just going to head over towards here and make sure that they, or see if I can get a free cap over in middle, and I believe I am able to get that pretty confidently, just trying to remember here the game. Yeah, looks like I have no issues going in here. I'll get the free cap off, just camp in here, and I'll get that back. So if you see the cap opportunity, do take it. Always keep in mind the numbers there too, is the fact that if it was just me or just me and one other guy, I probably would have stayed towards home to make sure that we did hold on to that, but we had a decent amount of numbers. There was, I believe, 3, maybe even 4 of our guys hanging out over there, so with only 1, maybe even 2 enemies there should have been no issue for me to leave that fight whatsoever, and I was rewarded for that, as I did get the cap. Now, unfortunately, again, I think our teammates were a little too zergy, and they were kind of hanging out off point there, so we actually lost the cap, but I've got control of middle right now. UI's just not showing it here at the moment, so I'll be fighting the Necromancer. Now, Necromancer fights are actually going to be really, really annoying, especially ones that are very tanky like this one when they run protection wells and stuff like that, because it's going to take you a lot longer than normal to actually take them out, and you've always got to be careful of fears and getting yourself knocked off the point, which I think does end up happening 1 or 2 times, and obviously, again, this Power Ranger coming up does not help that, so at this point, I've shifted completely into tank mode, basically. I'm not focused on killing these guys at all. I'm really focused on just getting CCs off myself, keeping myself onto that point, and taking as long as humanly possible to die. So as again, if the longer it takes me to die, the longer it takes them to decap that point, and with us being so close to the end of the game here, that's obviously what I'm trying to do, is just end the game as quickly as possible. And as you can see, this build showing its true strength and tankiness here, surviving, I believe it's been like 30 plus seconds here before they finally managed to take me to the downside. Granted, again, that Necromancer probably isn't doing too much damage, but the Power Ranger as well was being quite a bother to be. And as well, I'm trying to remember here, I might end up getting back up into play as our teammates come in just in the nick of time, and yep, there we go. I actually vengeance here as the game ends, but I was able to tank that long enough, hold on to the full cap, and in the process, our teammates got back control of the home point. We got a double cap, and yeah, managed to take the game. So the video just ended there, guys, so that'll be the end of this episode. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I will be away this weekend, so there probably will not be another episode until next week, but definitely looking forward to doing more. Maybe I can do an Eviscerate build next week, and then as we get a little bit later on, I can probably expand into other classes as well. So thank you all very much for tuning into the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a like if you liked the video, a dislike if you disliked the video, and as well any comments or feedback you have on this series or things I can do to improve it. And other than that, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.